The truth is an irony, just like animal farm. Justice mean inequity, so who go say the truth? Who go say the truth? Christian can say silence, Islamic leaders silence, kings and queens silence, traditional leaders silence. So who go say the truth? We are the workers of confused call. Now by area, why no better? We are the workers of confused call. One guy's out here, why no better? Who go say the truth? Who go say the truth? Oh, he needed to know see what I see so. Now your friend on an iron come at them. Only papi obeka nasembia. So I want one over you two. Everybody was afraid. And when Tinanan to my cottage again nine. Once my boy dumping one and but who go tell the truth? Nanai or say me. Nanso bien person beka wasam because everybody is afraid. Anya safwe muayini. Akukudro for nyina dalima. And who go say the truth? Obiaja konson so to grow your mansa to me be a cacobrafo. If I nyina ye, if when nyina ye. Na so kutrata down so be dia back or why no keke. I fene for be man mo pia for efwe. No cross on my mo. Anya safwe muayini. Akukudro for nyina dalima. And who go say the truth? Abaya di bote chino. Yedi bi bebo nyande bi. Kachisa would your mouth pipinuma. Would your mind never shine my frafonsa? But who go tell the truth? TUC silence. Even journalists silence. So then who go say the truth? Right is right, wrong is wrong. No matter how you justify. You say you wanna get rid of corruption. Someone want to help you. Now the person become your target. Jobless no they mean senseless. Poverty no they mean useless. One day them go resist.
Good evening once again and welcome to our weekly socio-political program. We're coming to you live on today's Ghana News TV. You can also watch us live on Switch, via satellite, Facebook, on our social media as well, Instagram and YouTube, all on today's Ghana News TV. You can also follow us wherever you are on Twitter, TikTok, and also as a podcast on Anchor FM. The program, a social political program where I express my views, you express your views, and we express our views on pertinent issues that are happening in our country. Today here we are saddled with a lot of collateral issues in the country. The government of the day seems to be confused. Or is it the more prudent economic way to collateralize all our statutory funds to enable them bring development to the country? On the other hand, the collateralized statutory funds are being used for loans, not for development, but to service the government's consumption budget? Is it a prudent decision? Or it is a government that has lost focus on how to govern the country? Wherever you are, once again, Jerome Kpan is my name, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to this program, which comes your way every Monday at the same time. So before we start, or before we bring in our guest for this evening's show, we want, wherever you are, share the links and to get many more people, so that together our views would be heard. And will that help to straighten our governance system? Or it is just going to be one of the shows as usual? But do not be discouraged. My view is important, your view is important, and together our views will bring about a lot of change in our governance system. So stay tuned as our producer gives us a wonderful musical interlude, and then we come back to introduce to you the guest for this evening.
Mampam also untie so dogo binwa bem mampam also untie nani amuka nyina guna swati move swara mampam also untie move swara mampam also untie. Once upon a time, animal called Mampam. Any king where them go bring 'em. Mampam said that king know the force. Tiger was a king. Mampam said he know the force. Elephant come. Mampam some better than you. The peaceful creature panda. Mampam said I want to know the force. Lion became a king. Mampam said I want to be the worst ever. Monsomeria. Mampam now become a king. All the crawling animals, everybody become minister. Yaton ya color TV. Yeah, the beer so sort of black and white. Oh my equality, oh my attitude upon some cry. Oh my anima Chinese yo, oh my so. Also auntie, so dogo binwa bem. Also yo. Nani amuka nyina guna swati mube swara mampam osanti mube swara mampam osanyo mampam wetete se omani su onedi ojineni na ojanu wewiemu no no just wajana na bia su wewiemu Mampam wa babosia chanu yini bia watu na kunyana sopen ye umuni odeye amim samni akasi samukwa ya to yanto yeti omaimu tisama frafo areho sakio tujini oje tuono na odi tuono yeah. So dogo binwa bem na mampam no so antie no so dogo binwa bem mo be swara mampam so antie Babylon so antene ho ho ne taya yeti ni so no Emra ye Kaizayon Samra Bejiane No continue so. I want to be in same course in Senia. Never day up 20 Jereome and an for as I say so.
Welcome back once again, and you are live together with us on today's Ghana News TV, and you can follow us on all the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube on today's Ghana News TV. Once again, we are back on our weekly socio-political program, MyView. We are privileged this evening to have in the seat Mr. Joseph Osei Saki. Mr. Saki is an engineer and a legal practitioner. He is also a chapter executive committee member of the South Africa chapter of the National Democratic Congress. We are very privileged to have him today to express his views, and I will also express my view. Together, we will express our views, and all our viewers, wherever you are, your views will also count in this show. Mr. Saki, you are most welcome to the program.
Thank you very well. Thank you very much, Jerome. Thank you so much, my brother. I'm very pleased to have you this evening. And
Wonderful.
I'm pleased to have all our listeners and our viewers this evening as well.
So, hi, sir, NDC in South Africa, briefly.
NDC in South Africa is very vibrant. You must understand that we just got elected and just got sworn into office. We yet to be inaugurated. We're expecting the national leadership to visit us any moment from now. We're just waiting for communique from them. Once they've communicated to us, we would be able to know the timelines within which we're going to be having our inauguration. Other than that, we are very collected and very vibrant. I should say that.
Good to hear. We hope that you put your house together and support your party in Ghana to come to governance system come 2024. And we wish you well.
Thank you so much, Jerome. It's in no uncertain terms. When we look at the governance that we are experiencing, our family back home, we are fortunate not to be living in the country, but we are less even fortunate to be supporting our family back home who are actually suffering the atrocities that the sitting government is actually imposing on them back home. It might not be directly on us, but indirectly, we are suffering whatever injustice that they are actually practicing there back home.
I hope the views you are expressing is not just from your opposition line of thinking, but a general suffering of the people.
It's very general, Jerome, as you correctly say. It's very general. I think it's across board. You can log onto online. You just go and get the general feel of how people are feeling back home, and then you will just get it right from the word go that people are very agitated by the systems that are being put in place by the sitting government. On top of that, you find out that there are a lot of laws that are being actually trying to be implemented in the legal arenas of government, to bring systems in place, systems that are not supposed to be or that are not intended to actually empower the citizens, the indigents of our country, but instead to enslave them further. The least that you can actually cite at this present moment is the gruesome e-levy that they've shoved onto the throats of our compatriots back home.
Yeah, but okay. Now you are brought the e-levy. Maybe we could start from that point, because what we have realized is that almost all the statutory funds and even taxes have been collateralized by this government for loans, just to meet the government's consumption patterns or expenditure. If whether they were collateralized to bring about other development, it would have been better. But this is just consumption, which means We're not getting anything out of it, but we're just borrowing to service loans that we have used for probably monuments and all that. If you look at it properly, the current government took the NDC government on when we introduced ESLA, which was used to offset the energy, loans. And what have they done currently? They have collateralized ESLA up to the year 2035. So what it means is that they have already used that. They've used the money ahead of time. Meanwhile, we are yet to generate the money using ESLA. So in other words, the government, like the president said rightly the other time, they cannot remove any taxes on petroleum products, because if they do, they will not have funds to service this collateralized loan they have done already. It is not only ESLA. We have 10 billion Ghana cedis of Get Fund that has been collateralized for 7 good years. And that is what we have in the Dachi bond. That is from Get Fund. And unfortunately for us, now they are trying to collateralize the mineral resources in what is called popularly as the Ajapa deal. Yeah, which fell out the last time. But now we are told that the finance minister says at the last press conference that it is still in his mind and they will want to revisit it. So it means they still have an intention of going into that. Notwithstanding all this, even the e-levy that they eventually use all the tactics to pass and is going to hit the poor user of especially the Momo accounts. They want the finance minister has indicated to us that he cannot guarantee that the e-levy will not be collateralized. So what it simply means is that once they have all these statutory funds collateralized, even if there's a change of government tomorrow, it means that for a very long period of time, you wouldn't have money or you wouldn't have funds for any other development. In your view, is it a prudent decision or not?
Jerome, in no uncertain term, it is not a prudent decision. Dismally failure. But the good thing is that as dismal of a failure it is actually exposing them and the incompetencies with which they have ruled, the country as a whole and mismanaged the economy that they inherited. Jerome, let me just say, it is very dismal in their intentions that in as much as they know that they have not been able to properly govern the country, it is eminent that they are going to be leaving the seat of power. So they're doing everything in their power to make sure that they actually leave a huge deficit, a deficit that will set the country back tens of years to recoup, so that whoever that actually happens to inherit the governance from them has got a deficit that is piled up like Mountain Afajato, that is unmovable. So that in as much as people bring you in, you will still seem not to be doing anything because the inheritance that you inherited is so overcrowded and overwhelming that you will not be able to even move an inch. To me, this is a deliberate attempt to make the country ungovernable and unprogressive. It is so unprogressive and is so determined that all these things that they are doing are so structurized in planning, structurized in their mentalities, chronologically, aligned to say that from this, we're doing that. From that, we're going to be going here. So they're collapsing all the sectors of the economy to make sure that once they leave, they live in the country in tatters. And that is the unfortunate part of this whole thing that we're discussing now. In fact, ungovernable state that is being engineered by specific people to make sure that they leave a legacy that is setting back the Ghanaian economy. The Ghanaian livelihoods and everything is being set back. Very
No,
pathetic.
yeah. So looking at it from that point of view, because they already came in, like you said, with a with a plan which they are moving according to, and they initially made it clear to us that once they gain the governance system of the country, they're going to be in there for at least 32 years. So what they have done right now, is it a way to deter the opposition parties from trying to come into the system? Or how do you see it?
It's impossible in fact, it cannot be a deterrent factor as I see it. This now calls for an emergency rescue mission. As they are doing, they are not the custodians of the land. They are only occupiers who were voted into power by electorates. So now that they have displayed incompetency in all arenas of their doings and dealings, then it means good and able people must jump in, come and rescue the country out of the hands of the snares. They are snaring everything that they inherited. So now as NDC, we're coming in as rescuers. We need to jump in and then implement rescue missions to actually make sure that whatever that is going wrong, we start to put the stops to make things right. This
Yeah,
cannot be a deterrent. We
yeah,
cannot
but
sit back and
let me
see
let me let me
what
get
is
this. Let
coming.
me get this from you. Let me get your view on this. As NDC, you are coming in as a rescue mission. If you look at the pattern of events, especially we have in Parliament, we expected that now we have 137, 137. We expected that much of these things will be fought on the floor of Parliament. We haven't seen that. The current president has treated himself as a human rights activist or what have you. And the only thing he can boast about was the Kumipreku demonstration that he led. And that was against the introduction of valued added tax. Today, our almighty e-levy has gone through and the NDC is quiet. So what are the strategies? How can you assure us that you are coming in with a rescue mission when we're not seeing any action on the ground?
Jerome, you're quite right, but you must understand that we are led in government in terms of the minority in parliament. We've got a chief whip or minority chief whip, you understand? And then as per the takings or the dealings in the house, you cannot predict what happens in parliament because for the next minute someone is available, for the next minute you cannot see, and it's all based on head counts. So when you do the head count and you find out that your people are not intact in terms of the numbers, the only thing that you can do is to retreat. Now, when you are retreating, it means you are rejecting whatever that is being discussed on the floor outright. Then, in the Constitution, in our Constitution, there are those provisions that are there to say that if the minority actually retreats, then there is a recourse. For you to have a recourse, then there must have been an action. So now we cannot take the blame to say that as minority, we left the floor of parliament, so now we actually abandoned the proceedings that actually made them to go through. You must understand that the ruling party, being the NPP, they're trying every other thing that they can do to actually curb or actually twist the hands of the minority to make sure that they get their way through. Because they've tried the first time, they lost. Second time, they lost. The third time. So they were trying all others. So I think Honorable Haruna Idrusu actually assessed the situation as it stood on the ground on that fateful day, and then took the best decision for us as minority in parliament to say that the best action, instead of us witnessing and endorsing endorsing without voting, we should then be in absentia so that at least whatever that happens, we did not witness it. To me, it was an honorable thing that the minority leader led the minority group to actually evacuate in Parliament.
Okay, well, if you say so, because the next question would have touched on a legal point of view, but I think the case is in court, and we don't know how the rulings will be. But do you have can you foresee the ruling from the court on this issue? Since the NDC have always suffered unanimous 9-0, 7-0, 10-0, 20-0, what have you?
We will leave it in the hands of God. But now, what I want to say is that, legal proceedings, as a legal practitioner, I just need to throw a little bit of a light. Most of the times, your presiding officers, being magistrates or judges, they don't just jump and then give you the rulings. They check the situation, the atmosphere on the ground. Sometimes you find out that you are actually leading in terms of your merits or the merits of your case. But now they don't give you the judgment because they see the outcomes and then the possible impact it can have on society. Then they decide that, okay, in as much as they are correct, should we give them the correct verdict? It will be chaos nationally. So a matter of national interest, they will then curtail and then allow the status quo to actually proceed or to see the light of day. That does not mean that you have lost. You haven't lost because the verdict came from a point of authority that is actually taking into account the situation nationally. Remember, as minority, we might be litigating on our minority interest, but now there is still a majority interest that has got the whole interest of the country at heart. So now, legally, it becomes a little bit tricky, Jerome, my brother.
Okay. Let's leave it there and we pray for the outcome not too soon from now. Let me come back to the e-levy. Well, we are looking at government collateralizing all our statutory funds. The e-levy, what is it about the e-levy that the National Democratic Congress stands with the masses to oppose? The president recently told us that, as His Excellency John Dramani Mahama said, maybe the president did not understand the question well, or he didn't know what the question was all about. When they asked him the question about the e-levy, he said that is the most, promising industry that has not been tapped, which is very interesting. But what is it about this e-levy that the NDC aligns itself with the masses of the whole country and you are against it?
On the matter of e-levy, Jerome, I must just present humbly, in front of our viewers and our listeners, in that, e-levy is like robbing innocent people daylight. If I should put it that way, in simple terms. When someone deposits his money in the bank, you taxing it as government. On top of that, there are bank charges. Okay. Now, they created this wallet thing, which we call e-levy in West Africa. In South Africa, we call it e-wallet.
Yeah.
E-wallet is your personal wallet where you keep your money that you are not using. Or when someone sends you money, you're trying to divert your money from your bank account. So it is something that has got to do with the telecoms.
Okay.
So by so doing, it is your private money. It's got nothing to do with business. It's got nothing to do with your savings or investments. But now, government decided to even stretch its dirty hand, excuse me to say, into your pockets, which has got nothing to do with the national fiscus. So now, we had to actually stand and oppose it rigorously to say that it is unbecoming for the government wanting to tax everything that has got to do with the poor. People that do not have, you want to take from them. We don't even know how much they tax in the mining companies that are mining the wealth of our country. We don't know. Even in as much as we know that they tax in them, even the taxes that they take from them, we don't even know how those taxes are utilized. So now we say they can do everything they want to do as they've been doing all along. But for this one, it is for the poorest of the poorest that your market women, and all that. The students, if you're a student, a mother wants to send money to the student who is studying in Akosomo from Kumasi, then the government is saying we're going to be taxing it. That is unbecoming. That is unbecoming. So it is overtaxing, overcharging, and I will call it overreaching. Overreaching is a punishable sin. It's a punishable sin, overreaching. You put your hands into the pocket of the needy. You are overreaching. So it was something that was not supposed to happen in the first place, but the government was adamant that they're still going to be getting their own, small sense out of it. Look, Osuno nam krawari ameo na abebe nam nebeode. That is my view. The biggest of the chunks are being sacked by them, and they are not actually able to even identify and account as to how they are utilizing those funds. So the mentality and the ideology of how they want to get tax from e-levy, it is still unjustifiable in my sense up until now, in my view, Jerome.
For the purpose of this e-levy issue, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama says that within the first 100 days of NDC government in 2025, he will repeal the e-levy. I'm putting in that context.
Yes.
The last time, he will repeal the e-levy. Now, what the MPP is saying today is that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is only using it to score political points, and when he comes into office, he will not repeal it. And they are bringing an example of the talk tax and all that came into being. I'm finding it a bit strange. I want us to look at it from that point, because when His Excellency made it clear to the good citizens of Ghana that when he wins power in 2020, he was going to review the free senior high school system, the MPP went to the market and said if he had won the election, he was not going to review, but he was going to cancel it. I don't know where I sit. I don't know whether it's semantics or whatever it is. How could review in the first place mean that cancellation, and here repeal now means continuation? How do you put that into context?
No, there is no context in that. On the part of what the NPP are saying, there is no context. Our president was very articulative in his point to say that when he comes in power, come 2024, he's going to repeal it. And then we as NDC members, we are in support of that motion to say that it is gruesome, it is atrocious, and it must be repealed with the contempt it deserves. Because there are so much taxes that are being collected, unaccounted for, accounted for partially not making sense. Big monies, the oil money, what is happening? What is happening? Those are big numbers. They're not telling us anything about that. These peanut monies is the one that they're thinking that they're going to be reviving the economy or boosting the economy with. It does not make sense. It doesn't sink in. So we're saying that if John Dramani Mahama, His Excellency, is saying that when he comes in power, he's going to repeal this gruesome law, piece of law, it is in line. We're going to support that motion, and we're going to make sure that we will lobby him in all areas of our engagements to make sure that that is done come 2024 upon victory. Because that is not supposed to happen at all. In fact, it was not supposed to happen in the first place. Now that it is happening, we are making sure that we're siding with him. in his leadership, we are aligned with him in his decisions, and we're going to help him, even with the legislation as to how to repeal. And then once it is repealed, what it is that we're going to be doing. Actually, instead of taking from the people, what it is that we're going to be giving to the people in return for them to recoup the sufferings that they have suffered, with the implementation of this e-levy.
Yeah, even before I get to that point, there was another issue that came up recently that I don't know, one of the legal practitioners made mention that the president promise cannot be fulfilled because he has no mandate to repeal that law. Well, from your legal point of view, how does that work?
No. He does have the mandate. Remember, there is an executive position that he does occupy. Then, depending on the numbers that we have in Parliament, remember, we vote on these things. Just like we walked out on the e-levy, we were walking out with the hope that they wouldn't reach the threshold to be able to actually pass the law. That was the whole idea. Now, if we work hard and we get our majority outright, not just one of them that is that kind of a thing, then we will have the power to actually implement whatever that we wish to implement. And I can say in no uncertain terms, without any doubt, that when we come in 2024, we'll be coming with the vigor, and the numbers will be behind us to make sure that all things are possible.
It means the NDC is ready for us to come into office. Let me get something clarification here again. There is a misconception up there, or let me say the governing party has, to a greater extent, tried to put in the mindset of Ghanaians that the NDC had wanted to implement the e-levy. And they keep referring to the NDC manifesto. And if you take a closer look at the NDC manifesto, it was that they were going to bring apart a flat rate of all transactions via Momo, in the sense that if you were sending, for instance, MTN have different charges when you're doing transaction on it, and Vodafone has different charges, Airtel Tigo has different charges. If you look at what is in the NDC manifesto, I took a closer look at it. It was just to make sure that we have a uniform transaction fee. I don't know how this translates into implementation of e-levy, which the government is trying to let everybody know that NDC intended doing it.
Jerome, in politics, there is that word, propaganda. They always want to create that hype that says that, they would have done it, so we had to jump in to do it, and then translate into justifying their actions. There is no such. In NDC manifesto, it explicitly says that we were going to be bringing all mobile charges at par. That is what it says. It's got nothing to say with taxing people on them sending mobile money and all that. It says nothing about that. And then that ideology is so clear. It is clean and clear there to say that instead of MTN being popular because of their charges, Tigo being less popular because of their charges, Vodafone being popular because of their charges or without their charges being aligned. There should be uniformity, and that is progressive, my brother. Progressivity has got to do that when you have made a choice. If you, Jerome, you're using Vodafone and your wife is using MTN, there is no way you should be charged more than your wife. And in no uncertain terms should your wife be charged more than you operating on the same network or on the same wavelength, if I should put it that way. So then that is progressive. Then the market share of all these telcos, it will be at par. No one is going to be having the upper hand over the other one. So that the freedom of choice must be enhanced. But as it is now, that is not the case because some people charge less, you get the masses patronizing that one, and then because the other one charges a little bit higher for whatever reason, then other people are actually gravitating to that point. Now, being progressive as we are, we had it in mind to make sure that we put all these telcos on the same path so that it becomes a matter of choice. It does not translate in no way that that would have been illegal. No, it's not. We refute it with the contempt it deserves.
Saki, I think let's take a little break so that we acknowledge our viewers who are with us from and passing their comments on all the segments of our social media on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and what have you. And we'll come back. I know we have a lot to say. We'll come back and charge you and the NDC. Maybe we have NDC has an issue with communication. That could be the issue there. But let's see. We have NDC Diaspora Union. Good evening, comrades. I'm watching you guys on YouTube from Amsterdam, Holland. We are very grateful. We have hardworking, dynamic women organizer, Hanover. Good evening, our hardworking comrades. Anna Sobak is all the way watching us live from Vanida. Where is Vanida? Is it South Africa? I hope so. We have Patience Darko. Oh, Patience, very grateful. Almost all the time, you are part and parcel of our program. Good evening, comrades from Hamburg, Germany. Luis Shankar is always there. It says Joseph Oseseki, greetings from the Netherlands. On behalf of NDC Holland chapter, I send my congratulations to you and other executives elect. Wonderful. Asonaba again. Asonaba, no, but Ajiwa is. I almost gave you to the Upper East region, but I will take it from there. I forgot to say which country I am. I am watching you live from Vaneda in the Republic of South Africa. We have a wonderful name. Thank you, thank you. God bless you, my GS, and your guest for the love of the motherland. Sam, we are very grateful once again. Good evening, Sir Joe, watching you from United Kingdom. Richard Amwa, Richard, watching you from South Africa. Oh, Richie, we are grateful. James Latte, the chapter secretary of Nigeria. Comrade Saki, watching you from Nigeria. On behalf of the Nigerian chapter, we send our warmest greetings. Bravo. My regards to the chairman, Dr. Mensah, as well. Tandila. Good evening to all NDC comrades watching you from South Africa. Congratulations, Joseph Osesaki. Keep up the good work. Lead with grace and wisdom. Indeed, wisdom is at its best here. And I think anybody listening to us will realize that, yes, indeed, Comrade Ose is a vibrant leader of the chapter. And definitely with him, together with the rest of the executive board, they would move NDC South Africa chapter forward. Emmanuel Ba. Oh, Ba, you're watching us from South Africa. I think today the show has been taken over by our colleagues in South Africa. South Africans were very grateful to you. Hey, Sewa Niels. Good evening. I'm watching you from South Africa. That's good. It's not Sewa Brony. Okay. Yeah, we'll come back again. James, you're also giving us greetings again. Yeah. I've already read that already. And Luis, once again, I'm so impressed about numerous viewers pouring in from South Africa. That is very true. Oh, Mr. Sorry, I missed. Yadom? Am I right? Is a producer, I think. Aha, Bennett. Bennett Konedu Yadom. Yes, kudos. Komesaki, your articulation is... Oh, Ben is one of our regular panelists, and we're very grateful for you always. Either you are joining us as a panel member or as a host, and always as a viewer as well. So this is one funny thing. One thing that has come up and drawn my attention from Luis. Luis says that Akufo-Addo saw the loopholes in the constitution where it is silent on the number of appointments to the Supreme Court. So he pumped his favorites in, and that is his cash cow, the so-called unanimous club. That is interesting. I think we'll have to look at that issue again because at another time, when we'll bring in Comrade Saki to look at these legal issues and see whether there's a need for the constitution to be amended or to put a ceiling on the appointments to the Supreme Court, Appeals Court, and what have you, because the president again has made some nominations to be appointed to the Appeals Court and tells you a lot. So once you get a unanimous decision up there, you go to the Appeals Court, he has another set of people in there. So in that sense, until we have these people appointed on retirement or for one reason or the other, the president is petitioned and they are removed, we will continue to enjoy unanimous score lines at the Supreme Court. Luis is once again, remember that this is the party who claimed to have had men, not knowing most are certificateless lawyers. Oh, Luis, are you therefore saying our president is a certificateless lawyer? I'm not very sure, but we have a lot of issues to look at it again. Grace Talks says, watching you from Stuttgart, Germany. Grace, we're grateful. Rose Soyara, good evening. And watching you live from where? Kumasi. We're grateful, Rose, for always being part of us. And Naak says, greetings from Hanover City, Germany. We're very grateful to all of you for joining us. And always remember, MyView is a social political program that comes to you every Monday, and we are always live on today's Ghana News TV. Watch us as well on Twitch by satellite and on our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Wherever you are, your views count, our views count. Together, we express our views. Today, fortunately, we have in the seat Mr. Joseph Osei-Seki, who is an engineer and a legal practitioner, and he happens to be a chapter executive member of the National Democratic Congress Party in the South African chapter. So we will continue from here, and then we see what other areas that we can look at since we have just a few minutes to go. Now, as I was saying, I'm still coming back to you. NDC is a social democratic party that relies so much on taxes from the people for the development of the people. We have seen NDC in government, NDC out of government. What is it that makes NDC unique? In one breath, people try to tell us that the NDC looks at the welfare of the generality of Ghanaians. The MPP tries to place their people in very sensitive positions or their property owning democracy, so that even in out of government, they try to control the economy of the country. What makes NDC unique?
Jerome, thank you very much for this question. This issue is a very hot one, but nevertheless, it has been very well demonstrated. You go back to 2016 when the NPP came in power. Go and check, just go and scrutinize the appointments that have been made by the sitting president or the government, if you should say. There are pointers that you can actually draw. There are points you can draw to actually give you a map as to who have been appointed, as in ministerial positions, deputy ministerial positions, chief executive positions of the parastatals of the governmental entities, and all that. You will see that there is one fashion that is trending. Is the president, his cronies, his family, his extended family, friends, sympathizers all over. It's clear. The names will show, their biography, where they come from, who their associates are, who they're married to, who are their kids. One way or the other will point you directly, to the circles of the president. And that is an anarchy. I will tell you straight. It's never done. You don't do that. Vis-a-vis the NDC. When NDC was there, in fact, it's a character that is portrayed in the whole party. NDC does not single people out. If you qualify, if you deserve, if you are dedicated and you are committed enough, your position will be yours and you'll be held accountable. If you go from the founder of the party coming down to the general secretary, the chairperson, and all that you go down, you can go and then scrutinize, and you see. When NDC was in power, they made sure that they appropriated the positions. The positions were so appropriated that if you qualify, they put you there. Look, Kennedy Japan Honorable, I'm not supposed to be actually be biased, but I should be, because I am actually speaking to you on this platform on the ticket of the NDC to say that, Kennedy Japan was telling them, their party, his party, that their party members were actually angry. The boys, the foot soldiers, were so angry that the work they did for them to empower them, to propel them into power, they had forgotten about them. You never get that with NDC. NDC in its making, when they are brewing the beer, everyone that actually works, when the beer is ready, you've got your own seat, you've got your own calabash, and you are served. So now they cannot just come and then turn the tables. In fact, the narrative will have to be appropriated to say that that is what actually distinguishes us from the New Patriotic Party, because it's about your involvement, your qualifications, and your capabilities that puts you in a place, not your association to whom and who. No, it does not work like that. So the honorable thing that needs to be done in a political arena is what NDC does and not what our opponents do.
So if we do this, what favors or what gains do we make out of it? Because these people are interested in getting power and staying in there and empowering their people. NDC is thinking of the welfare of the generality. I think this should have been the best idea that should have sunk into the minds of all our voters. And if it stands so, then it will be difficult for NDC to always lose power. But what happens?
What actually happens is that word propaganda. They go and concoct lies, fallacies, and then they propagate it. Then it becomes a propaganda. Then they spread it like wildfire. Then they've got agents in the form of radio stations, TV stations, proponent leaders, and all those people. And then they jump and then they propagate the lies. Then it has become a norm. Look, Jerome, between me and you can see that for every 8 years, there is a change. If you can see. Yeah. And then that is exactly what happens. But you know what? I think Ghanaians are matured enough this time around to see that the true colors of the people or the party that can actually take Ghana forward is the NDC and not what our opponents are doing. We need to actually then come in power. Look, Jerome.
Yeah.
I am very saddened by what we all have been seeing in the social media, on television about Seglome. Seglome was built by the taxes that was amassed from our own people. And it is supposed to be occupied, enjoyed, and utilized by the people that pay the taxes. There is one thing that, as a person, if I should have audience with our leader, I will pledge is the fact that we have systems in place that no government, irrespective of when you come and change the course of the livelihoods of our people. You know, ambulances that were bought are not being used just because of party lines and factionalism. What is that? Properties, accommodation that has been built, abandoned, sidelined, unused, just because it was built by the NDC. So now Ghanaians are not supposed to be utilizing it. What is a setback? What setback of a mentality that is? It's sickening. That is not right. There are more schools, more roads, more hospitals, more residential apartments, more social amenities that were built by NDC. Look, if you're not going to be giving the benefit of the doubt to the NDC, allow the masses of the populace, the indigenes, to utilize the facilities that have been built with their own money for them. That is a sabotage to the highest degree. And now you get people sitting justifying that and still wanting to be appraised for their injustices. That is so wrong. We cannot allow that to happen. So when NDC comes in power, we need to make sure that that is enacted. That should be a national agenda. That is not partisan. It shouldn't belong to any party. It should be sacrosanct for Ghanaians to enjoy whatever facilities that are available to them, irrespective of party lines. It is something that we're going to be motivating, we're going to be lobbying in to make sure that once we are in power, we leave our party politics. We make the lives of our people to be the center stage of our mentalities, or our activities, our politics and everything. It should be to the betterment of the people that we claim to be serving. And that is the work of NDC. Our opponents have failed dismally. And then us sitting here will make sure that we make that to see the light of the day.
That is very true. But there's one setback that I think we see in our system. The NDC government came out with a 40-year development plan to the National Development Commission. Unfortunately, the MPP came into office and they've thrown it away. Not only that, the MPP seems not to respect any constitution or constitutional rule in the country. They're doing what they want and they're getting away with it. How does the NDC government try to reverse this trend?
Look, enactment of laws. Straight away, enactment. We need to enact laws that will repeal all those activities that were done.
If we're talking about enactment of laws, we already have laws that we in the system. For instance, look at the statutory monies that they have used to collateralize. Get fund, the law says how the money should move. It's like the law says how the money is used. But here we are, the finance minister together with the president just decides what they want to do with it. Why? No checks and balances, or what is the issue?
Look, the checks and balances that are supposed to be done are supposed to be done. Then there should be appropriation. Laws that has to be dealt with or be done away with needs to be done away with. Those that needs to be appropriated, to be shaped in a way that it actually favors what we want to see happening in the country needs to be shaped. Those that need to be done afresh needs to be done afresh. all in alignment of the national agenda. There should be a national agenda that no partisan can actually repeal, rebuke, or regress it. It should be something that stands, irrespective of party lines. Once you assume office, it should be continuity. Yetwaso, you go forward, no backwardness or no retardness. Then we will say we're making progress. You know, some of these things are very sickening, Jerome. Like, you know, you sit and you look at some of these things, you think about them, you see the media portraying them, and then in as much as you are not in the country, you feel very sick. Look, our leaders, they travel day in and day out. They see the beautiful things that are happening. Look, let me make South Africa a case study, my brother. It's very sad that we live in African continent on the same land. There is no ocean cutting across West Africa and South Africa and East Africa and all that. Same continent. You come to South Africa, they've got grants, old age grants. Me and you, our grandmothers, when they fall sick, they die. Before they die, when they get to the hospital, you are made to bring money, put on the table of the doctor before he does surgery. What is that? Here in Africa, South Africa as a case study, they've got old age grant, disability grant, child grant, foster grant. You've got RDP houses, as in free issue housing for homelessness. Look at their landmass. Look at the mass, or let's say the deposit of their resources, and in its categories. And then look at us in Ghana, our landmass, our population, vis-a-vis the deposit that we have. I really want us, my brother, to touch on the collateralization of our, state funds. Look, that is saddening. You get a government that actually collateralize the iron ore, the bauxite that is unmined. Take the money, squander it, and then that loan will have to be paid by the next generation. And you tell me we're doing good? That is so bad. John Mahama never did that. NDC never did that. Our opponents came in power and they are appropriating the wealth of the country, tens of, let's say, hundreds of years into the future. And then they expect Ghanaians to live well. That is a lie. You get your Chinese, with open mouths, taken from left, right, center, ready to give you. Look, I don't know which African country, I think it was Gambia, Zambia, or somewhere there, whereby they collateralized a loan with the airport.
Zimbabwe.
Now they don't have an airport. They don't have an airport. We cannot say we are learned, true Ghanaians. I'm an Ashanti. We cannot sit down for that kind of a thing to happen in our country. It's impossible. It will never happen. We will never allow that. So when we say that, the collateralization of statutory funds with our deposits is a no-no. That then brings me to when they say that, Oseche Mensah, I'm from Swami. He's the MP of Swami. And he's saying that they're actually looking at collateral, as in allowing the MMDCEs to be able to ascertain loans for development. No, they must bring their balance sheets. And then, look, I'm sitting here with the auditor's report. The auditor's report for the MMDCE, in fact, the MMAs, it's appalling, my brother. I can post it here for you to see. Dismal failure, people squandering and embezzling funds. Now you give that kind of a power to an MMDCE. That MMDCE goes to your rating agencies, your Moody's, and all those people to go and get a clearance, to go and then ascertain a loan. Who has got a fixed term of office, my brother Jerome? 4 or 5 years in office. He knows that his time is coming. Squanders, misappropriates the funds. When he is out of office, he is above rebuke. You just cannot bring him back. The law says that. And then at the end of the day, it becomes a piled up loan stuck with the indigents of the poorest of communities. We cannot allow that. It should be the MMAs, the institutions that are supposed to actually be allowed to ascertain loans, not the MMDCEs. The MMDCEs, as people, officials, executives, no, must not be allowed to get any loans. As the assembly, if the assembly sees it fit to ascertain a loan, that should be allowed, but it should be monetarized. It should be monetarized. In fact, to see what is it that they're going to be using the loan for, what are the timelines, what are the repayment values, is it real? Is it something that they can do? Is it something that they can implement? Is it something that they can repay? So that they don't leave undue debt for the future of our kids or our future children to come and inherit.
Exactly. You are more than the word fire, more vibrant. And I'm pretty sure we can continue on and on and on. But before I take your final words, I think we need to charge the NDC. I say this because if you look at NDC during the term of John Dramani Mahama, we put up a lot of structures all over the country. We brought a lot of developments. We brought a lot of policies. And the NDC felt that the people themselves who were beneficiaries of these policies or these developments would have seen to it that the NDC is retained. On the other hand, the MPP took advantage of those developments that the NDC put in place and added the propaganda version to it. Wherever they had structures, for instance, you have the E-block in a community, they go there, they take that E-block, and then they multiply probably the total cost of the E-block by 5 times and tell the people that this is what the government has done, but it should have been this. But the NDC never went to the market to defend these things or to explain these things to the people. I think the NDC has a problem with communication. And I think this is the best opportunity for those of you and those of us who are in the diaspora that will take advantage of some of these social media platforms to explain things to people, because those of us who are in the diaspora, we are quite a lot. And what they do is anybody here, be it MPP, NDC, you have an influence back home. And once you are able to manipulate that influence, then you are able to push the vote level of whichever party that you support. So the NDC should be charged more, together with you and all the NDC executives in the various branches in the diaspora. We need to take advantage of these platforms and explain things to the people. But that is where I'm going to take your last words on the communication level of the NDC. Do you also see that NDC seems to have a problem from that angle? Because even in the run-up to the last election, there were just a few people, the National Communication Officer, what's his name? Sami Ajay, was all of that, was this Safo Ajay in Kumasi. There were a few key people, who were all over. That was the face of NDC. Greater majority we were not seeing. Do you also agree that NDC has an issue with communication? And how do you overcome that?
My brother Jerome, we can say that NDC has got a problem with communication. If you say that, you are correct. But now, there is always a remedy to a situation, to me. Whenever there is a situation, you don't concentrate much on the situation, but now you actually engineer a solution to whatever situation that you have. So to me, we all going to be converging as NDC people, and then we're gonna throw our ideas around, because now I am not being paid to sit here and then present this kind of my view. I'm doing that for the love of my party, and also to conscientize my compatriots to say, look, there are things that are not balancing. We want to see them balanced. So some of us are prepared to do that in our private corners to make sure that we remedy the situation as it is, just like you outlining it from your point of view, which is something that we are also all seeing. But the fact of the matter is that Sammy Jereome cannot be in more than one place at a time. The platforms are so many, but he is only one person. So it's high time that some of us, we liaise with him, we share our notes, we compare our notes, we bring ideas together so that we speak on the same wavelength. Once we are on the same wavelength and we communicate on the same wavelength, then we'll be synchronized in diversity. Wherever that we are, we'll be talking the same language. And that is exactly what I think we have to be doing. And now I'm going to personally be engaging with Sammy Jereome because fortunately, we belong to the same fraternity professionally,
Okay.
So I think we will find each other, and then we're trying to synchronize ourselves so that we hold the smaller pieces of the baton, so that it becomes too heavy on one person having to answer everything. He must have confidence in some of us so that he relinquishes some of his duties, directly by him to say that in South Africa I've got so and so, in Belgium I've got so and so, in Germany I've got so and so, in America, so that when anyone mounts any platform, we are in tune. We are in tune, same wavelength, and then we will get the bull by the horn. Other than that, it is one love, one fashion, a zoo, a za. There is no backing down. We're going for the triumph, and there is nothing that is going to be stopping us. We get in there. We get in there.
Well, maybe just take a minute or two so that I can say hello to your South African fans. Today, South Africa has overwhelmingly taken over our show. So maybe have a few words for them and your colleagues, chapter executives in other diaspora, Nigeria, Holland, and what have you.
Thank you so much, Jerome. Thank you so much. We're really looking forward.
Great. So, viewers, wherever you are, once again, we are very grateful for joining us. And we are privileged to have had no other person but Mr. Joseph Osei-Seki, who is an engineer and a legal practitioner, and also a chapter executive committee member of the NDC South Africa chapter. Wherever you are, once again, this has been your show, My View, Your View, and Our Views. Wherever you are, join us once again, and you can always have the podcast on Anchor FM anytime, any day. We will come again your way next week, Monday, with another vibrant topic. But remember, we will make another date with Comrade Saki, and then we will look at certain legal issues. Thank you very much, and have a blessed night.
Thank you.
Mampam osontie so dogo binwa bem mampam osontie nani amuka nyina guna swati move swara mampam osontie move swara mampam osontie. Once upon a time, animal called Mampam. Any king where them go bring him. Mampam said that king know the force. I got Panda was a king. Mampam say he know the force. Elephant come. Mampam some better than you. The peaceful creature Panda. Mampam said I want to